Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Today's Monday, I guess. We're going to start off with 8.5 day 2. I'm really going to kind of review what we did on Friday and just add a little bit to it. Not a ton today, and then we're going to continue with our factoring the rest of this week. Again, it is very, very important. I can't stress this enough that you do get factoring down. If I had a list of the top 3 things you needed to have mastered that would help you the most moving forward in math, factoring would be one of those. Okay, so far it looks like you guys did pretty well on Friday's assignment. A couple of you just be careful with the signs and that type of stuff, but proud of the work you guys are doing, so keep it up. Remember, I do have my office hours starting today, so if you have any questions, you can hop on there. It's through Zoom. The link is at the top of your Google Classroom. For you guys, I believe it starts at 10:40, so you guys can jump on there if you need me. Otherwise, I think a lot of you are doing really well, and I'm really proud of you, so keep up the good work. Okay, so real quick here, just kind of review what we did the other day and also just to kind of add one step to it. Okay, if you remember back to the first part of the chapter, we worked on GCF. Okay, we're going to start including some GCF today in some of our factoring. Excuse me. Okay, so it's very, very important you look for the GCF first. Okay, it will make your factoring a lot easier if you do that. Okay, after you've pulled out the GCF, which we'll do here in a couple examples, okay, remember, you always want to look for factors of that last term. Okay, based off the example you guys have above, okay, it gives you x squared plus bx plus c, so they use the last term as a c. So you want to find factors of the last term, or the c as we're calling it. Okay, so again, writing out the different factors if you need to. If you don't need to write them out, if you can kind of do it in your head, I'm fine with that as well. Okay, after you do that, you have to find the ones that add up to that middle term. Okay, so we're trying to add factors to equal our b. Okay, we want those factors to equal the b. That means we found the right combination. And I'm going to add a fourth step. I know it's not on your notes, but the fourth step is we're going to check. Okay, make sure you always double check that you did get the correct numbers, you did get the correct factors. That's going to become even more important tomorrow when we actually add a number in front of the x squared. Okay, it's going to be essential that you check to make sure you did get the right combination. All right, so let's go ahead and do a few more examples here. Kind of just a little more practice, review things, and then also kind of look at what happens when we do throw that GCF into the mix. Okay, we've kind of done the two separate, want to throw them together today. Okay, so the first example that you guys have is you have x squared plus 11x plus 24. And I'm going to go ahead and just throw the other one up here as well. X squared minus 8x plus 12. Okay, so again, just a quick reminder on the signs. If they're both positive, okay, then that means both sets of parentheses will also be positive. Okay, that one's probably the easiest because 2 positives, 2 positives. Okay, remember, if this is an x squared, then we want an x and an x. Then we're looking for factors of 24. That would give us 11. Okay, so again, you can go through your list, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, okay, 3 and 8, or 4 and 6. And you'll see that 3 and 8, okay, would be the right combination, because if I add 3 and 8, I do end up with the 11. All right? On B, okay, signs have changed on us now here. Okay, you'll notice that the last one's still a positive, but this one turned to a negative. So you have to think, what would I multiply to get positive, but add to get negative? And it would mean that they're both going to be negative. Okay, so we're going to end up with an x minus and an x minus. Okay, so again, if this is positive and this is negative, they are always both negative. Okay, so we're looking for factors of 12 that give us 8. Again, you go through your list, you're going to end up finding that 2 and 6, okay, would be the correct combination. If I add negative 2 and negative 6, I get negative 8. If I multiply negative 2 and negative 6, I get positive 12. That's why they both have to be negatives. Okay, next one, and really next two, are going to kind of throw a little bit of a different loop into it that we haven't talked about yet. So for the next one, we are actually going to have a GCF. So kind of look at how this plays out for us. Okay, plus 72, x plus 70. Okay, so you'll notice you do have a GCF because 2 goes into all these. And for today's purposes as well, anytime you have a number in front of the x squared, you will have a GCF. That will change tomorrow, but for today that will be the case. Okay, so I have to go ahead and pull the 2 out first. Remember, when you pull out a GCF, you're really dividing it out of everything. Okay, so I need to divide a 2 out of here, and out of here. So if I divided 2 out of here, I'm just left with x squared. Divided 2 out of here, I'm left with 36x. Divided 2 out of here, I'm left with 35. Now, this 2 can't disappear. It needs to stay part of your answer. Okay, so we don't want to get rid of it. But what we're going to do is we're going to keep the 2 on the outside, and then we're going to factor what's left in the big parenthesis, just like we've been doing. Okay, so you'll notice your signs are both positive, so that means these both need to be positive. I now just have an x squared, so that will give me x and x. And I have to think of factors of 35 that will give me 36. You only have 2 options, 1 and 35 or 5 and 7. It's going to be 1 and 35 in this case, because if I add those, I end up with 36. So this would be our final answer. You must have the GCF, and then you can have the 2 parentheses after that. But don't drop the GCF. Okay, once we take it out, it does need to stay part of the problem. It can't just go away. Okay, next one you'll notice you've got 2 variables. Okay, so again, this one is slightly different. Really doesn't change a whole lot actually with what we do. Just want to show you kind of what it looks like. Okay, so if you look at this one, there's no GCF. Okay, these 2 have x, these 2 have y, but all 3 of them don't have something. Okay, so I am going to go directly to my sets of parentheses. Okay, I still have an x squared here, so I'm going to have an x and an x. My sign is positive and then negative here, so that tells me they're both negative. Now, I recommend just ignoring that second variable for a second here. Okay, just think about what are factors of 8 that will give me negative 6. Okay, and it would be negative 4 and negative 2. But what we have to make sure we do is we just have to attach a y to them. That's all we have to do. Okay, because it will work out for us. Okay, because the x times x would give me the x squared. If I check here, I get the negative 2xy. Check here, it gives me negative 4xy. That would give me the negative 6. And then with these 2, it gives me the positive 8y squared. Okay, so really all it does if there's that extra variable is just puts an extra variable here as well. Doesn't change our process or anything else that we are going through though. Okay, go ahead and just do a few more with you guys here then just to make sure we have it down. That's kind of the new stuff for today though. So the next one is 3x squared. Let's see what this is. This is e minus 9x minus 54. Okay, so again, always look for that GCF. We do have one here, it's 3. So I have to take the 3 out first. Okay, so again, we're dividing everything by 3. So if I do that, I get x squared minus 3x minus 18. Okay, so then the 3 stays on the outside, and we'll just factor the rest of it as normal. Okay, so I have an x squared, so that tells me I'm going to have an x and an x. Last sign's negative. Anytime last sign is negative, that means you're going to have one of each. Doesn't matter which one you write down first, but you're going to have a positive and you're going to have a negative. So we need factors of negative 18 that will give us a negative 3. So again, that means we have to think of factors that have one of each sign. Okay, in this case, it would end up being a negative 6 and a positive 3. Okay, if I multiply those, I get negative 18. If I add those, I get negative 3. Okay, so that would be the correctly factored form. Again, keeping that GCF there. For f, you have x squared plus 9x minus 36. Okay, no GCF on this one, so we can go directly to the parentheses. Again, x squared means we're going to have x and x. The negative here means we're going to have opposite signs. Okay, so again, then we just have to think, okay, what factors with opposite signs of 36 would give me a positive 9, and it would end up being a negative 3 and a positive 12. Okay, again, if you do a quick check, you would see that it would give you the right numbers. Next one we've got is x squared plus xy, so it's another one of the two variable ones, minus 72y squared. No GCF, so we'll go right to our parentheses. Again, x squared means we're going to have x and x. Negative here means I have one of each. Again, doesn't matter which one comes first. Technically, there is a negative 1 here, okay, or excuse me, positive 1. So we are looking for factors in negative 72 that will give us a positive 1. Okay, so it's going to end up being positive 9 and negative 8. And then all I have to remember is just attach the y to it. Okay, otherwise the rest of it stays the same. It doesn't change what we're doing. Okay. So one more like this then, and then we'll do one in a word problem format, which really, again, nothing changes. And we'll go from there. Okay, you will notice, first of all, you do have a GCF, so you do need to take the 2 out. And then we'll have x squared minus 15x, okay, plus 50 when we do that. Again, keep the GCF, do not lose it, and then we will factor what's left over. I have a positive, so that means my signs will be the same. This tells me they are both going to be negative. So you have to think of factors of 50. Okay, that will give you 15 when they have the same sign, and it would end up being 5 and 10. Okay. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. I know it adds a little bit to our factoring, not a lot. Okay, we'll continue to add a little more to it tomorrow. Now, you'll notice the last problem, example 2, it says the area of a rectangular parking lot is given by the trinomial, and they give you x squared plus 6x minus 16. What could be expressions for the length and width of the parking lot? So basically they're telling you this is the area. This is what we get after we multiply it out. So they're telling you, I want you to go backwards, and I want you to get the 2 pieces that you start with. In other words, factor it. That's all you're doing, okay, when you're dealing with this. So we're still going to have x and x. That's a negative, so I'll have opposite signs. So I need factors of 16, negative 16, that would give me a positive 6, which would end up being a negative 2 and a positive 8. Okay, multiply those, you get negative 16. Add those, you get positive 6. So it's no different. It's just written in different form, but they're still just telling you to factor the problem when you're working with that. All right? All right, otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I can't wait to see you.